Commissioner Miller, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you, Roman. Thank you.
All right. So maybe just to start with, in case somebody's watching this interview and they're not familiar with the role of an AG commissioner, can you sort of give the idea of like a broad overview, and then what does your day-to-day look like?
Well, we're everything agriculture. We're cows, sows, and plows, but we're a lot more than that. We're the Consumer Protection Agency, so we're over weights and measures, scales, pumps, anything like that, pesticides. We're the marketing team for the state of Texas, basically the Chamber of Commerce with our Go Texan marketing program. We do agriculture, livestock export facilities. We operate those. My biggest division is food and nutrition, and within that is the school lunch, school breakfast program. I'm responsible for 5 million school meals each day. So we have about 130 statutory functions that we perform either for the state or federal government. It's a big agency. I have a $6 billion budget, so. Wow. My budget's bigger than the budget of 31 states, so we're busy.
And some countries as well.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Let me ask you this: so you mentioned the school program. So you have the Farm Fresh initiative, right?
Yes.
When I read about that, I naturally juxtaposed it to what's happening in New York. They have the meatless Mondays, and they're kind of expanding the meatless options. But you, on the other hand, it's more of like a farm-to-table operation, right? Can you sort of explain what that initiative is and what the results is?
Well, interesting you brought that up. When I first got elected, there was a school district in Dripping Springs decided they'd have meatless Mondays. I said, come on, really, in Texas? You got to be kidding me. That's not even nutritionally sound. So I started going to the cafeterias trying to get my hands around this new position. And I'd ask them, how much local product are you serving our kids? Well, none. We don't serve them any. I said, well, why not? I said, well, we don't know any farmers. We don't have time to go to the farmer's market. It's better just to order it from Benny, Keith, or Cisco's. It's flash frozen. We thaw it out and put it on the plastic tray. I said, that's why you have healthy trash cans instead of healthy kids. So long story short, I set up a system where we hook up the farmers with the schools and make that a very easy link. And last year, where our schools were serving 0 local products, they bought $65 million worth of locally grown products and fed our kids. No added salt, no preservatives, no dyes, never flash frozen, cooked from scratch, fresh. And guess what happened to it? They ate it. It didn't go in the trash can. So we're very proud of that program. We're kind of the model for the rest of the United States.
And how did you implement that? Because I imagine Texas is a huge state, so do you have somebody in each school district going out and making connections?
Well, I'm not big on mandates. We don't do mandates. We use a carrot instead of the stick. So I started out slow. I challenged schools on their own, at least on Fridays, have Farm Fresh Friday and serve something local and bring the farmer in, have Farmer Friday, and let that farmer tell those kids where that food came from, how it got on the plate, how he raised it or how he grew it. And we expanded from that. We sent out gardening kits to the younger grades so they could plant their own garden, get a little dirt under their fingernails, kind of figure out where fresh food comes from. So that worked real well. And then we implemented a mega conference in the summer. We brought all of the cafeteria people together, all the nutritionists and all the farmers that wanted to sell to the schools, and we meshed that together and put up together this clearinghouse, how to make all that work. So it's working very, very well.
And did you expand it from 1 day to several days?
Well, yeah. Well, it's now we have a year-round challenge, to the Farm Fresh program. Like I said, it's a volunteer program. We have about 65% of our schools participating in it, mainly because the parents demand it. They want their kids to eat good, fresh, local, wholesome foods. Much of it's organic, so it's good, and much of it's cheaper because it doesn't have the transportation cost, buying directly from the farmer instead of the distributor.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another thing that a lot of people don't think about, right? It's like you have these global supply chains, sometimes with food literally coming from South America, getting processed in Asia, and then coming over here to the States. And it's like, well, I'm eating healthy, but at the same time, like if, and it's good for the environment if I'm eating it, but on the other hand, like if it's straight up from your local county farm.
Absolutely.
The greenhouse.
And nothing better than fresh and local, organic, non-organic, doesn't really matter. It's always better, fresh and local.
Yeah. And another thing you mentioned as a part of this initiative I think is really important, which is the education aspect of it. Because I know in Vegan Friday and the whole Meatless Monday campaign in New York, it comes with a kind of an education package about how detrimental cattle raising is to the environment, how much water it takes, how much land it takes, and it sort of actually teaches kids that meat is not only not healthy for you, that's why we don't eat it on Fridays, but it's actually bad for the environment. But you actually have a farmer come in and you teach them the more nuanced what's happening.
And I would consider all that BS. Not having any protein, that's not even nutritionally sound. Sad part about it is some of these children, the only protein they get is when they come to school. You know, they're low-income families. They can't afford to buy meat at home or protein. So the school lunch system, the school breakfast system, that is their protein source. So to cut that out, it just doesn't pass cowboy logic.
Yeah, and it's also you're anti-brainwashing them, because unlike in New York where they're like, they're suddenly anti-meat, here you're explaining to them how it actually all works with the local economy. That's phenomenal. Let me ask you this. So you've been in this position since January 2015, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have served under 3 federal administrations, Obama, Trump, and now Biden. What has been the difference?
Well, in the Obama administration, I spent about 40% of my time fighting federal overreach, where there would be Endangered Species Act. I had to fight and won on the waters of the U.S. under that one, many others. Trump came along and everything changed. Instead of fighting the federal government, I was advising the federal government. I was almost in his cabinet. So it was a great working relationship. We got a lot done. Biden took over, and it was the same old thing. I've sued him 4 times. I spend a lot of my time. I'm here today fighting back against the 30-30 plan that they're trying to, idle 30% of our land and put it out of production, which is just crazy. So that's the difference, working with the federal government hand in hand, advising them, and then having to sue them and fight back against federal overreach.
When that shift happened, Trump left office, Biden came into office. Can you sort of give a concrete example? Like what did the Biden administration do that you then suddenly had to fight back on?
Well, the first time I sued him, and actually I sued as a farmer, not as a government official, but they came out with pandemic relief for farmers. They took it pretty hard, and I'm for that. And their ideal for relief is if you had a USDA loan or USDA guaranteed loan, they would forgive it at 120%. Just kind of crazy. I mean, if you got a $100,000 loan, we're going to knock it off the books and give you 20 grand. Which I didn't sue for that. I sued for how you qualified to get the program. So to qualify, you had to be a minority. Really? White people don't apply. I said, wait a minute. That's racism. We don't do that. You can't end racism in America by creating more racism. I don't care if it is for minorities. It doesn't matter. Every government document I ever signed, the bottom line in fine print says we do not discriminate against race, creed, or color. So I sued as an individual. We won that. It was obviously unconstitutional. Now they went back, redid that, based on economic disadvantage instead of the color of your skin. So it's still getting out there, and we're still helping the farmers. Second time I sued him, I run the school lunch program, right? So the Biden administration said, all right, you people that are running this nutrition program in our schools, if you don't adopt our LGBTQ program, we're going to let your kids starve. We're going to cut you off. I said, we're not doing that in Texas. Forget it. That ain't happening here. So I sued him again. Ken Paxton, who's been in the news lately, was my lawyer. I have about 20 myself. We did a lot of the footwork. We won that. So not only was that never implemented in Texas, it's the law of the land. No one has to do that across the United States. So we won that for all 50 states.